Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this, what is it, Tuesday night, the 13th of April, 2021. And we're still talking about snow. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by our friends at, ooh, there you go. Taking longer to load for some reason. All right, it's loading, but they are still our friends at Omni True Value Hardware. Why did the screen do this? Loading, loading, loading. There they go. Omni
Good
True
loading.
Value Hardware, Long Island's largest provider of mulch these days, and they have a ton of it. See it here on the video in black and in red, and they make it there too, so they never run out. So plenty for you to bring your truck and take it home and make your yard look tip top. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631 756 1125. They've got the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com. It's a Long Island business, and no better way than to go to Omni so you can support your local businesses. Okay, here we are. I was just watching, by the way, on Turner Classic Movies, Key Largo with Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Lionel Barrymore, and the Frog. Yeah, Edward G. Robinson.
Edward
Yeah,
G.
yeah.
Robinson.
I'm Johnny Rocco. I was big. I'm big. I'm. Uh,
Where's your Messiah now?
yeah. Yes. Exactly. Great movie though. Claire Trevor won a supporting actress Oscar for it, and the scene that she won it for, where she has to sing she plays a drunken famous singer who hooks up with Johnny Rocco and goes down the tubes, and she had never sung before, and the director wanted her to sing, and she had to sing in front of Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Lionel Barrymore, Edward G. Robinson, because the director said she wanted her to look terrified, and and it worked in a big way because she walked off with the Academy Award. So anyway, good movie. Put it on the list of must see. There's a hurricane that goes on in that movie for you weather buffs. All right, so we are heading back
Can
to.
I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you just one kind of in terms of Omni, one of our sponsors?
Yes.
Do they plan to be open at 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday?
No, they don't.
Just wondering.
No,
They're big into mulch now, but maybe just maybe.
no. This is not
Maybe.
salt season. This is not
All
salt
right.
season. So,
Okay.
so we're going back to gloom and doom, or doom and gloom, whichever way you prefer it. And we've got we're looking at this low for Thursday into Friday. I am sticking with my guns on the idea that this is going to be an event for elevated areas, mainly above 1,500 feet. Maybe in some places, the snow levels will lower down to some of the valley floors for a brief time, but I'm still thinking this is going to be an elevation-driven snow event for inland areas.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. Although I did get a laugh when I took a look at especially the NAM and calling for like, I don't know, like 16 inches of snow in the Berkshires and as much as 2 inches of snow down in my neck of the woods, Joe, right around the area near Newburgh in Orange County. So, but as we've been saying since Sunday, this is an event that is going to be predicated. I mean, it's very cold aloft. It's going to be from the top down, so to speak. So obviously, the higher up you go, the better your odds of seeing the white stuff. But right down at the surface, temperatures might be just a tad too warm or to support any kind of sticking snow event. And although it might be, let's say, in the mid 30s with a chilly rain down here, and you don't have to go too far north and too high up to, it would appear, get some accumulating snow on Thursday night, Friday.
Yeah, it's a fairly vigorous upper low. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all going to be about that upper low, where it tracks and how strong it is. Uh, Models today, I thought were maybe a shade further north with the track. but still very vigorous. The NAM model apparently, on the 18Z run went little bit on the crazy side.
Bazonkers.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
take a look at all of that. But starting off with the satellite, at least we did see a good amount of improvement today, weather-wise. I think, even though there were some patchy clouds from time to time, that storm from yesterday, the upper low on the upper right now, you see, but the Newfoundland low is on the upper right. The storm from yesterday is actually a low. Also, you can see a rotation down well east of North Carolina. That's eventually going to get absorbed by that system up in Newfoundland, which is barely moved. And ultimately, that's really key because while it's there, Joe, that upper low in the Great Lakes can't go east. It can't go northeast because there's an upper high weakening, but there is an upper high to its northeast. So it's got to go to the southeast. And how far south does the center of that upper low get? That I think will be one of the determining factors with regards to who gets wet snow out of this and how much.
Well, I said yesterday, we were speculating on what might happen at the end of the week. And I said, beyond 3 days, it's anybody's guess. The closer we get to the event, the better we're going to get in terms of accuracy as to where this is all going to go. And it would not be surprising if, with the passage of time, that some of that colder air gets closer to the surface and we actually begin to see some indications there could be accumulating snow, let's say as far south as maybe southern Westchester or close to the coastal plain of Connecticut. We'll see, but it certainly looks most interesting as we move toward the end of the week with this upper low sitting where it's projected to go, and the surface low. I wouldn't exactly say bombing out, but certainly intensifying very rapidly, and maybe just enough dynamic there to set the stage for some frozen precip at the end of the week.
Well, this maybe this will be the last chance. I just keep thinking back to was it a couple of weeks ago where we had a system that looked like was going to bring some big snows to parts of central New York and into New England, and that wound up just falling apart. So I just kind of have that in the back of my mind. I don't think this falls apart, but I'm just kind of, I guess I'm trying to figure out the all the intricacies in the system like this, because unlike the wintertime where you've got cold air around most of the time, these top-down storms are very, very tricky, particularly the ones that are out of the norm. Let's call it the out-of-season storms.
Hmm. Yes, I could remember. I think it was in the early '80s. What is that mountain chain that is located west of the Hudson River in New Jersey? I think it starts with a W. Um, Darn it, I can't. Anyway, I remember that it was just a stone's throw away from New York City, and they got something like 4 or 5 inches of snow. Meanwhile, the city itself got nothing but rain. But
You're
it
talking
was an
about
amazing
along the Palisades.
along the Palisades, or maybe a bit inland, or whatever. There's a line of there's a mountain line or mountain chain that, in this particular case, actually picked up, several inches of snow, whereas and you could actually see it from New York City. That you could actually look off to the west and see at the top of the mountains or the top of the hills were all white. It's like crazy.
Well,
Give me some time.
I just Googled mountain chains in Northeast New Jersey, and I came up with the Hamburg Mountains, the Ramapo Mountains. Then in Northwest New Jersey, there's the Kittatinny Mountain. I don't see any. Let's see. Nope. Uh, yeah, I don't see anything here.
You
On
said where north? What part of New Jersey?
in
Northern New
North,
Jersey.
yeah. I mean the
Try
Ramapo.
northeast. Try northeast New Jersey.
No, I
See if
did.
there's.
That's what I put. Northeast mountain chain in Northeast New Jersey, and
Mhm.
that's it. That's what came up. Let me pull
Okay.
let's pull the map up and see if we could resolve this mystery. No, the Culver Ridge, the Pohacton, the Watnong Mountain, which is west of Newark, the Copper the the
The
Copper Ass.
Watchung,
Oh, the
the
Watchung.
Watchungs.
Watchung. Okay.
Yeah, I knew it started. I knew it started with a W. It's the Watchung, once called the Blue Hills, and they go up about 500 feet. So it really is not a tremendously high chain of mountains or whatever. But I do remember in the early 80s, the top of the Watchung Mountains got like several inches of snow, and you didn't have to go too far down, to sea level to see nothing or just rain. Um, I think that was back in the day. I think when they used to have helicopters at WOR. Bill Corbell was being alerted to this by George Meade, who did the traffic reports from the helicopter back then. It's kind of amazing. But yeah, that's about 500 feet high. Heck, I'm 500 feet above sea level where I am. So
Yeah. Stranger things have been known to happen. So um, tomorrow we'll probably get a good idea of what the model profiles are. Meanwhile, we've got some thunderstorms blowing off. You see the cloud tops blowing off to the east across southeastern Louisiana and back into East Texas. That's where the severe weather risk is tonight. And just check out the latest on the radar loop. We'll give it a quick refresh here so we can take a look at what's going on currently. A lot of the storms now have moved off the Louisiana coast. There's still some heavy rains and a couple of heavier cells west of there. Not too much going on in southeast Texas at the moment. The Storm Prediction Center actually kind of adjusted their risk area late this afternoon, where they had the slight risk in southeastern Louisiana. So now they've moved the slight risk for tonight in southeast Texas and in western Louisiana with a marginal risk extending down to the coast. But other than that, and a small area in West Texas, severe weather is certainly lacking at the moment. And looking ahead to tomorrow, the severe weather from Wednesday into Thursday, we've got a marginal risk from the coastal bend of Texas across southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southernmost Alabama, just touching the Florida panhandle. Also, a small area of marginal risk in northeastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. And that's due to the developing low that is going to eventually move offshore and then get pinned back northward with the upper low. So that's an area to be watched. And on day 3, which takes us to the period from this should be Thursday into Friday. There's no severe weather being indicated at the moment, although we do have general thunderstorm risk from the Central Rockies down through Texas and then east across the lower Gulf states into northern and central Florida and extreme southern Georgia. Day 4 through 8, I believe earlier they had probability was too low for all of the days. A potential too low for day 4, which is Friday into Saturday. Day 5, which is Saturday to Sunday, Sunday to Monday, Monday to Tuesday, and Tuesday to Wednesday. Potential too low for the entire 4 to 8 day time frame. So with the system in the east, it's just the Gulf of Mexico is pretty much cut off except for the immediate coastal areas, which is why you see the risk areas where you're seeing. And WPC with the precip, Joe, for the next 7 days, which takes us through next Tuesday night. And there might be some more precip to deal with some showers maybe later on Sunday and possibly again for the first part of next week. Most of what you're seeing, though, is for Thursday into Friday. And they've got 1.5 inches, and they also have some 1.75 inches, I'm sorry, the 2 to 2.5 inch amounts in parts of western Mass, northwest Connecticut, southern Vermont, and the middle and upper Hudson Valley in some patches. So I would imagine if you can generate some heavy precip with this upper low as it goes by, that's going to, you can put an extra checkbox in the wet snow on the wet snow side, because if you get the precip intensity, you might be able to, you'll get some dynamic cooling, particularly in those higher elevations.
right, exactly. That's what you'd like to see is the dynamic cooling, the intensity. And as we move along, who's to say that we may see the storm, this particular system for Thursday night, Friday, intensify to even greater levels than what we're seeing now, and it wouldn't be a shocker, would it? I mean, it's been so long. I can't remember. I think it was early March that we had our last snow event in general here in the immediate tri-state area, and after such a long stretch, just even see snow in mid-April. Uh, well, it's more of a joke than a surprise, I think. But
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. The biggest joke, of course, was last year when we had snow in a winter where we had less than 5 inches at Central Park. To actually get snow
on
on
May
the 9th of
9th.
May, that's the ultimate joke.
I know. Big rains on the next 7 days for the northern half of Florida, several to many inches into southern Georgia, right along the Gulf Coast and back over toward Louisiana. Again, given the pattern that we have, that's where everything is still suppressed to the south. So your frontal boundaries are lying uh, down across the northern Gulf of Mexico, and that's why you see the heavy precip there. Also, want to note the heavy precip in Colorado and in Kansas, Nebraska. Some of that's going to be in the form of snow in the Rockies, especially west of Denver. A lot of that's going to be in the form of snow, and also on up into Wyoming as well. And I think we've got some winter weather stuff that went up tonight in that part of the U.S. So I'll just pull up the watches and warnings. Nothing up in the Northeast, and I suspect that they probably won't be doing anything here until at the earliest tomorrow night or Thursday in some places. And we'll let the Weather Service offices figure that out. We do have winter storm watches in parts of Wyoming. A few winter storm warnings are already up. Some winter weather advisories there. Also extending down into the some of the mountains in north central Colorado. You see the red flag warnings in northern Arizona, northwest New Mexico, southern Utah, southwest Colorado, southern Nevada, and into some parts of interior southern California. Otherwise, much of the country's quiet. Flash flood watches up for the southern half of Louisiana. A lot of special marine warnings up, and even a few severe thunderstorm warnings up, showing up here in the what is that, gold, I guess, or orange, that orangish color. Uh, in
Amber.
Yeah, okay, I'll take it. Uh, off the Louisiana coast with what's going on now. Some frost and freeze advisories in northern Missouri, southern Iowa, southeastern Nebraska. The West Coast is, for the most part, fairly quiet. So let's go to WPC. And no surprise here, they beefed up the snow now that it's in their 72-hour forecast frame. This is the probability for at least two. They seem to be edging north. So the first lowest probability show up well north of Route 84. Little bullseye there in the Catskills, and also fairly high probabilities in northwestern Massachusetts up into south and central Vermont. I'll jump it up to 4. Let's see what they do with the 4-inch probabilities. And well, I mean, they've got the light blue is 50% in northwestern Mass and on up through southern and central Vermont and into central New Hampshire, also in the Adirondacks, and a small little patch there in the northern Catskills. And how about 8? Shall we try 8? Let's see if they
Why
do
not?
that. Let's do 8. Oh, look at that, a little bullseye in southern Vermont there, a 50% probability of at least 8. So, I mean, it would kind of make sense if the upper low plays out according to plan. Somebody in some of these elevated areas will wind up with a fair amount of snow. Here's some of the early Weather Service numbers on their digital forecasts, and they've got some 3, 4, 5-inch amounts showing up in parts of northwestern Massachusetts and into southern Vermont in that purple, but they don't have any numbers there. That's all 6 inches plus. Also seeing a 4, I guess that's Hunter Mountain there, northwest of Kingston. A
It
1,
looks like it. Yeah.
further south and west. I don't think that's Monticello, but they got a 1 there. They also have a little bit of I guess indicating that maybe there might be enough for a slushy coating or a little bit more in the elevated areas in northwestern New Jersey and also in northeastern Pennsylvania. But it's early in the game. We'll I kind of want to. I kind of feel like punting the ball here down another 24 hours, if only just to get a better feel for how much dynamic cooling is going to be, because I think that's really the critical question here, and it's still too early for that.
Right. Right. We're really not going to know unfortunately, we're probably not going to know with any certainty or surety until perhaps Thursday. And some people say, "Well, it's practically here. It's practically upon us. You had to wait until then." Sometimes, in certain situations, and this looks like one of them, it may very well be. And I hate to say it, but depending upon how quickly this system winds up, so to speak, or deepens, there's an outside chance that we may be playing catch up with this system. I mean, it's a long shot, but you start seeing snow when it wasn't supposed to be snowing, or you start seeing or hearing about accumulations where it wasn't supposed to accumulate. I mean, that is not out of the question. The cold air, Joe. This is one thing that Renata kept asking me. Said, I want to know what the 850 temperatures are, and she's thinking that maybe they're marginal, like 0 or 1. No, the 850 temperatures across much of the region are somewhere in the -2 to -5 Celsius range. That's pretty darn cold, especially for this time of the year.
Well, let me bring them up. So let's take a look. We'll bring up the 850 temp, and we'll do it with the FGen. So maybe we could get a couple of clues from that, and as far
Right.
as what might happen. All right, so just give it a moment to load because I have the through 8. All right, they're starting to come in now one by one. Okay, here we go, 36. Now we're into Thursday morning, so the zero is nowhere close. But by Thursday afternoon, Joe, the zero is snaking from southeastern Massachusetts across western Mass, kind of humps up north of Albany there, and then goes southwest into northeastern PA. Looks like a little bit of Omega in the Hudson Valley. And then we go into Thursday night at 54 hours. The zero goes from Boston to about Springfield, and then stakes down to west of Hartford to just north of Danbury to about Poughkeepsie into northwest New Jersey. And by Friday morning, the zero is over central Long Island and northern Rhode Island into southeastern Mass. It's minus, what is that? -3, right? That's the zero -3,
Yeah.
running
Yep.
across northern New Jersey, on up south of Albany to western Massachusetts, and then over into New Hampshire and Vermont. Not, but you pointed this out yesterday. There's not the Omega is over in eastern Massachusetts and also offshore. So
Well,
I would like to.
Joe, let me.
Go ahead.
I'd like to point. First of all, let's remember that during those big storms we had in February, that the NAM Omega or the NAM FGen was certainly superior, much better than the other models, the GFS, for
Right.
example.
I just
And
switched.
in
I
looking at,
just switched to the. I'm just switching now to the NAM. So the NAM is up there, and yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
take a look at the 700.
The Omega on the NAM at 0Z Friday is very at 850 is very impressive.
Take a look at even at 700 at 60 hours at 6Z Friday. This is on the 18Z NAM. Look at a big swath of.
Oh yeah, look.
I mean the contours are so close. I mean, it's almost reminiscent of what we saw during the February snowstorm. They're so tightly packed together.
Yeah,
I mean, my goodness, if that's
the NAM's
if that
the NAM's upper low structure is probably different than the low. Well, exactly, it is different. I could see it already. The upper low is stretching out into this negatively tilted northeast southwest, and the southern part of that is probably lifting up northeastward. Yeah, I mean, Joe, this is now see this is a big difference. So if the NAM is very dynamic with the 500 feature, it also takes the upper low and reforms it probably somewhere over Delaware Bay, and then takes it out east of New Jersey, south of Long Island by a fair distance. So this would argue that you would see snow further south and maybe at elevations less than 1,500 feet. And maybe it does make it down to the valley floors in some places in southern New York, and also in maybe into western or northwestern Connecticut. This is a very dynamic looking NAM which is different from both the European and the GFS.
It's a digger. That's the best way to describe it. I mean, we start off with a significant upper low, closed upper low over the eastern Great Lakes as of Thursday afternoon, and then that thing just kind of pivots 90 degrees, stretches out, and as you pointed out, Joe, it kind of reforms off of the central Jersey coast, and then that system just kind of takes over. Says, "Here, I'm taking the ball now," and heading on up. Well, I mean, look at this. This thing actually closes off and sits for a while just south of Cape Cod near Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard into early Saturday. It's crazy.
Which is,
I tell you, if we see,
no, I was going to say, which is why the NAM. I mean, it's got to look. These numbers are you got to, at the very least, you want to just kind of cut them in half, just on principle. But it's got a foot plus northwest Connecticut into southern Vermont, and it's even got several inches on Long Island with this, and it brings it, Joe. It brings it just to the north of New York City, that missing 1.4 inches that you're waiting for. The NAM brings it. The NAM brings it about as close as you can get to New York City without it actually happening.
I tell you, well, this is going to make for an interesting latter part of this week to see how all this pans out, both from the NAM's perspective or from the other model's perspective. And certainly, it looks like it's not going to be a boring end of the week. Let's put it that way.
No, I'm just going to bring the 850 back up on the NAM because I wanted to take a look at the temperatures are probably even a little bit colder. Let's see. Well, that's on Saturday. Let's roll back. There's so many lines on this map, but the -3. The 850 temperatures are about the same as the GFS. The -3 is probably a little bit further south by 6Z. I'm sorry, by 9Z. The -3 is actually down south of Long Island, and there's Omega over western Long Island, and then you got Big Omega over eastern Long Island. It's just a very bizarre. I guess the best way to describe it is bizarre, but ultimately, excuse me, ultimately it's about the upper low, and it's about the track of the upper low. Wherever that goes, the heavy snows are going to fall north and west of the upper low track. If it winds up being, now take the wider view of the east and bring up the 500 millibar map here, and come on, load up, please. All right, so bring up the 500 millibar here. This is the NAM at Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock. So you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 contour cutoff there between Lake Erie and Lake Huron, and then it just digs southeastward and reforms. Come on, give me the last couple of frames here. And it reforms east of New Jersey. And as you say, it just kind of sits out there. So, if you're looking at this, I would say that 537 contour on the map, which runs touching northern New Jersey and is, probably just north of you to about Danbury. From there north is where you would probably see some of the heavier snow. So it's just kind of, I got it drawn too far east. Give me a moment here. So I'll just kind of guess it'll be something like this, somewhere in that
on the chat board.
Somewhere in that circle.
On the chat board, Frank R. Says, "I think the 1.4 will happen. The snow gods are listening to us."
Well, it would be kind of funny. April 16th, I believe it was April 16th, 1996 that Central Long Island got 16 inches out of a system that probably is not that much different from what you see here, because the only way you're going to do it this time of year is with an upper low this deep. I'd have to go back and look at the maps for that.
Steve LaPointe says it'll be 1.399. Thanks, Steve.
Well, yes.
If it's 1.399, they're going to round it off to 1.4. At least I hope so at the Central Park Conservancy.
Well, look, we still got a long way to go to determine whether the NAM is even correct.
And what year did you say that was in April? April
of '96.
96.
on Long Island, we had 3 accumulating snows.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That was the year of the blizzard of '96 in January,
Right.
and then we had, yeah, you're right. We had like two or three other significant, in their own right. Each one would have been major, except that they were eclipsed, or they couldn't stand up against comparison with the blizzard in early January. But yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
And
So that'll be
yeah, and I missed it because I was away that week. It was, I believe it was the week after. I believe it was the week after Easter Sunday. And no, it was the week going into Easter Sunday. And
and our good friend Craig Allen um, wrote an op-ed piece for Newsday. I'll have to look for that. I think it was in Newsday. He got into a car accident in that April storm, going
yeah,
to work,
yeah,
and
the snow was the snowflakes were as big as pancakes, and it all fell at
right,
night. And it all fell at night. That was the other thing. It
right,
all came down at
right.
night, and that's what you need this time of year if it's going to happen. If it's going to happen down near the coastal areas, and even to a certain extent the inland areas, where there isn't where you have lower elevations, this has got to fall at night. Otherwise, during the day, it's not going to really, it's not going to stick very much, except on the coldest of surfaces.
Absolutely. If you're gonna get it during April, one big plus would be to have it happen under the cover of darkness, because that sun now is so much higher than it was just a month ago. And we often kid about, don't bring up solar angle, the sun angle, or anything. Well, yeah, now you can bring it up,
It
because
matters.
now it does come into play.
All right, so I just want to kind of quickly run through the long range because we do have some changes in the overall pattern. I'm going to back it up to uh, Monday when we were pretty much at the peak of this block yesterday morning, the big upper high that is sitting right there in the Davis Strait, and then of course you've got this upper low sitting near Newfoundland that's going nowhere. We had the system yesterday that moved offshore and is now getting absorbed by that. And here's the follow-up system. Again, we're looking at yesterday's here. The follow-up system in the Northern Plains that becomes the Great Lakes upper system. And of course, now the upper high is weakening, which you need it to do, and the low near Newfoundland is starting to move. So that's going to allow the Great Lakes system to move eastward. It can't move northeast because if you've got what's left of the upper high and the higher pressures in eastern Canada, and its only option is to move southeast to some extent. The GFS takes the upper low just north of New York City. Big difference in terms of outcome if that's correct. And the European is a little bit further south than the GFS, but not by a whole lot. And of course, you just saw what the NAM did, which is to dig this southeastward the way it did. That might just be a one-run thing. I want to be careful here to just jump on, the NAM's adventure late this afternoon and wait to see if we see a couple of runs, or I'd like to see three, in the next 2 or 3 runs do the same thing and see if the other models catch on. But ultimately, the blocking pattern disappears. But the problem now becomes out in the Pacific. Take a look out here in the Pacific, folks, right down along 160. You've got a rather strong upper low that's forming south of the Aleutians down to 160, and every down 160 toward Hawaii. And anytime you have a deep upper low there, you have a corresponding ridge that builds up the west coast, which means that you've got troughing for the most part setting up somewhere in the eastern part of the United States. So it makes for a different scheme in that you'll have weather systems moving, but you'll also have sharpening troughs that are going to be dropping into our west, and that'll bring opportunities for rain or showers with weather fronts every couple of days. And it's hard to see, you're not going to warm up very much in a pattern like this, especially if you're going to wind up with a deep trough like the GFS is showing for later next week. And then when that lifts out, you'll notice there's a big upper low in northern Hudson Bay that starts to drop southeastward and into the Great Lakes and eventually into the Northeast. come the weekend of the 24th, 25th. So that is going to be another something else to keep us from getting warm. But maybe after that goes by, after that lifts out, the GFS does start to build a ridge in the eastern part of the United States because the trough at 160 is gone. So maybe that's what we'll have to wait for toward the end of the month. You probably squeeze out a few days, but even so, Joe, look at it's I know it's a 384, but it's blocky again by 384. You have a upper high that strengthens along 50 west. It's a little bit it's a bit south, but it does look there is a blockiness to all of this. It might be a situation where we'll be in a better place like we were last week with the upper high further south in the longer term. Again, assuming that this is correct, which we don't know if it is, but we still got a lot of work to do here as we go through the rest of April and then eventually head our way into the beginning of May.
May. I can't even believe that. May. Boy, things are just rolling along real fast here. And do I have sharing capabilities,
Yes, you
Joe?
do. I think I gave them to you.
Well,
Let me double check. Yes, I did. Share away.
no. Okay. I want to show you guys something here. Again, I'm going to the Climate Prediction Center, and I want to show you the take a look at this. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook, temperature wise, probability for April the 19th through the 23rd. And I mean, look at that area. This is 60. Blow it up a little bit here. So this is 70%. 70% probability of below normal temperatures across the central and southern plains, including Texas. I'm sure they'll love that. Oklahoma, Missouri, and up into Iowa. And we are in a normal, according to this forecast, we're normal as far as temperatures are concerned, just barely. And it's actually warmer than normal or above normal temperature probabilities across much of New England, especially on up into Maine. And if we just go back and show you the temperature, show you the precipitation, you can see that we have ourselves an area of above normal precip. Meanwhile, it's dry, high and dry across much of the central. The same areas that are, below normal, well below normal probability-wise, temperature-wise, are also below normal precipitation-wise. So what this is suggesting, what the CPC is suggesting, is chilly or cool and dry central states, and for us, near normal or maybe a bit above normal temperature-wise with above normal precipitation. Looks like the wetness, and that's probably due to the block, Joe, that you just pointed out, the blockiness taking shape, placing us in an unsettled weather pattern for the upcoming next 6 to 10 days. I want to quickly just take a look at the 8 to 14, see what they have. See, now they move us into the below normal category by 8 to 14 days. That probably means that the time frame around the 19th or 20th will be the pivot time between going from slightly above to a bit below normal. And do we get out of that wet weather pattern here? No, it looks like it remains wet. In fact, if anything, the area of above normal precipitation expands to cover the eastern third of the country now and pushes the dry weather all the way back into the central and western United States. So if, days like this afternoon where we had sunshine and mild and pleasant temperatures, apparently those days are going to be quite limited in the coming next 1 to 2 weeks if this is all this pans out. And again, all due to the block. With the blocking pattern, there's not much room or not much chance of anything moving very quickly. And in fact, sometimes when these blocks really get intense, they actually help to or serve to push everything backwards to the west, to retrogress. And this might be a situation just like that over the coming next 6 to 10, 8 to 14 days, Joe.
Well, this might be the last chance that we have for doing this, Joe, but why don't you see if enough of the 18Z European is up
We'll do so.
and see if that tells us anything. In the
All
meantime,
right.
Michael Azara wants to know, Joe, if your 1.4 inches falls at the top of the Empire State Building, does that count? I would just say that if the
Not on,
1.4 falls on the top of the Empire State Building, Joe will arrange for that snow to be somehow shipped over to over to the
Central Park.
Central Park Belvedere Tower so that they can. He'll be dumping it right onto the snowboard. So
Yes.
let's check
Well,
let's look at that
Joe,
18Z.
we'll show it to you. Let me go back and have the screen shared. Um, that's not what I wanted to show. Oh, here we go. Here we go. There we go. Um, so let's see. This is as of 0Z this evening. Excuse me, 06. So this is as of, yeah, 0Z. Well,
Right.
it's 6 hours after the initialization, which was at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So this is 8 o'clock. This is 13 minutes ago. And as we move things along, not really all that much to write home about here. But then as we get to Wednesday evening, we have an area of moisture beginning to show up over Virginia and West Virginia. And as we see that kind of moves off to our south, no big deal there. What we're thinking of is coming our way for Thursday night into Friday morning. And whoa, take a look at this, Joe. This indicates, let's see, these colors, the orange colors seem to indicate about anywhere from like 6 to 8 tenths of an inch of moisture falling on us. So it looks like this could mean a rather wet afternoon on Thursday. Look at where the 540 line is, though. It cuts down from near Messina, New York, to west of Albany, down to the New Jersey-Pennsylvania border. So that's 8 o'clock in the evening on Thursday. What in the world will it show for 2 a.m. on Friday? Bang. It shows that 540 line past us. The heavy rains or heavy precipitation is now right up along the New York, western New England border, right near the Berkshires and trailing on up into
I would have
western
to think.
Vermont.
I would have to think that that's got to be snow. In
I
that
well,
area.
here's where the white. Well, I mean, the Green Mountains are here. The Berkshires are here, and yeah, now kind of the energy, the moisture, I should say, begins to diminish some, but still a fairly good amount here. We're talking about maybe 3 or 4 tenths of an inch. There's the low. You could see that.
Yeah,
Center seems to be near Providence, Rhode Island.
yeah, it's a little far north. A little far north for my taste. I would like to have seen it, like the Nam has it, south of Long Island, with the surface in the upper low. Uh, yeah,
We're right
well,
in the middle. We're right in the middle of a 530. Right in the middle of a 534, a region of 534. Probably in here somewhere. It's like maybe 533 or 532. That's pretty impressive for this time of the year. The low seems to have idled now in neutral gear near Providence. You're right. It's a bit different than what the NAM is showing. And then now it moves the low to just south of Boston by Friday evening. And you know what, Joe? The more I look at this, the more I'm starting to believe that elevated areas above 1,000 feet are going to get clobbered
well, it could
come
very well
Thursday night
be.
into Friday.
Could very well be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll certainly, I think, have a much better idea of this with this for tomorrow. Pamela D hitting super chat tonight. Thank you so much, Pamela. And she says, thanks for being here. I enjoy your channel. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat hit. And I believe you're new on the chat board or relatively new, in which case, welcome aboard. And I hope you come back and enjoy yourself here with all the regulars that are on the chat board on a day-to-day basis.
I just wanted to see also, Joe, the temperatures, the European temperature model, and it shows that take a look at this now. It's by 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. It shows temperatures that are generally in the 45 to 50 degree range, and then as we get into, I want to see what it has for Thursday night. Thursday night, they still have surface temperatures Thursday afternoon at around 50. And then I see all that swath of blue.
Yeah, that suddenly shows up. That's a dynamic cooling going on.
There you go. 35 by 2 o'clock in the morning at surface level. I'm going to make the assumption over upstate New York and western sections of New England, and then very similar for Friday morning at 8 a.m.
Is that light blue?
And
Is that
still
light blue 40 or 30 or 35?
40, 40,
40.
40.
Okay. So you got to go to that next
That's
darker
40.
shade.
Right. I'm looking for the 32. Here's the 32 outlined up here. That's a 8 a.m. on. Yeah. Generally they've got temperatures at or around 32 degrees over Maine, but of course they always are like that.
Yeah.
uh, but then these temperatures here are probably like in the mid 30s for surface level, and now let's go up. If you go up, like, let's say 500, 1,000, 1,500 feet, that could very easily be at or below freezing, and
Sure.
could very easily indicate you know lots and lots of wet snow. So
So we got a couple of
there you
questions here.
go.
Keith James wants to know what's the weather in Denver looking like on Friday because the Mets playing the Rockies, and they were saying 20s in Denver at game time on their broadcast earlier. So let's switch it back, and
Well,
we'll take a look. Or unless you want to go ahead and take a look.
well, I mean, like, I'm showing you the Europeans' opinion of this. This would be for where's Denver? Right about here.
Mm-hmm.
That's Denver, Colorado. Well, they ain't playing baseball if that be the case, because this is 30. This white line is 32 degrees, and this zone right in here, that would suggest
Well, that's
temperatures in the
more. That looks
20s.
more west on that map because Denver's actually, east central. So it's probably just east of that coldest air, but it's still going to be
You mean like
cold.
over here?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's still going to
yeah,
be cold.
yeah. And they'll still make them play in that weather because they'll probably say something like, "You guys are making tens of millions of dollars.
And
Go out
we
there and tough it out."
right, we need the parking lot money.
Exactly.
We need the parking lot. We're
Precisely.
not giving it back. We need the parking lot money. Oh, good lord.
And of course, that Denver's like 5,000 feet above sea level anyway. So,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly. Hey, do you have a Briller Jeopardy for me?
I may very well have that. I'm going to check right now for you. If you'll please hang on for
I
a
will. I will
memento
certainly hang on.
and see if Mr. Briller gave me something. I do see. I have this guy. If Scott is watching, I want to ask, why is it that every message that he sends me, maybe it's the same with you, Joe. Every message he sends me on Messenger always ends with a thumbs up.
Oh, I don't know. I get my messages with no issues from Scott. Must
Well,
must.
I'm not saying it's an issue, but All right.
I, just
Briller Jeopardy.
before we do that, Johnny Quest asks, and no question is a dumb question, Johnny. But when you have a positively tilted trough or a negatively tilted trough, how different would the weather be in relation to each? Well, it would depend on where are you with respect to the trough itself. It's a complicated question to answer because you got to sort of lay it out on the geography, but um, troughs that go negative and lift up create a lot of lift. And as a result, if you're, say, north of where the trough axis is or northeast of where the trough axis is, you're going to get probably hammered with some heavy precip. Now, you could certainly have heavy precip with a positively tilted trough, but that's a system that's moving progressively, just sort of sliding west to east. So again, it would depend on your exact location. So you just kind of have to lay it on a map. On what we showed you before with that trough tilted almost east-west, which is about as negative as you can get, and then you have the upper low tracking that way, it would suggest the areas just north of the track of that upper low wind up getting clobbered. So that's how the negative tilting impacts that. If that were more of a positively tilted trough, then you would have to just kind of look at the track northwest of where the upper low is. Just sort of connect the dots. You just follow, go out 12 or 18 hours to just see how the upper low tracks. And then you go north and west of where that upper low tracks by about 50 or 100 miles. And that's usually where the heaviest snow winds up falling. Negatively tilted systems are the ones that clobber, and especially in a situation like this. And Steve LaPointe hitting super chat tonight too. Thank you, Steve, very much. Thanks for weather simplicity, tea and wine for both of us. Most appreciated. Just do always try to make this as understanding as possible. And sometimes, I know we do tend to get a little bit technical. But I'm of the belief that, you just throw all the stuff out there, and if you watch the show long enough, you'll start to really, things will start to click. Light bulbs will start to go off when you see something late, down the road, and say, "Oh, this is just like what happened a few weeks ago," and you start to make all the connections. Thanks very much, Steve. Most appreciated. The chairman is on the chat
Yep.
board tonight, by the way. So I am
All
ready.
right.
I am ready for Briller Jeopardy.
He wants to know if you're going to do another perfect game tonight.
It's
And
probably not likely,
qu-
but let's give it a whirl.
and before I get into this, I have a question, and this has nothing to do with weather, but it has something to do with sports. The Mets tonight are playing a doubleheader, but some Doomkoff made a decision. I guess it's the commissioner of baseball. I don't understand, quite frankly, why. But now, when they play a doubleheader, the games are 7 innings long. The Mets, in fact, went into, quote, extra innings tonight. They went to the bottom of the 8th before they won the first game of the doubleheader with the Philadelphia Phillies. But my question is this. Suppose a pitcher pitches a no-hitter in a doubleheader that runs 7 innings. Does that go into the record book as a no-hitter, even though the no-hitter was only a 7-inning no-hitter? And then the other question is, if the pitcher is pitching a perfect game through 7 innings, as you know, when the ball game goes into extra innings now, this is another new thing, Joe. They start the inning by putting
A runner on
on second base.
Yeah. Now
if a pitcher is pitching a perfect game through 7 and they let him pitch into the 8th inning, is it a perfect game still? Even though they put a runner automatically on 8, I guess not, because a perfect game means nobody gets on base. And now they are literally taking the perfect game out of the pitcher's hands by putting that runner on second base. And I'm saying to myself, is this going to count? These are 7-inning games, not 9 inning.
Now,
and I've known many.
Are these pandemic
There've been many
rules?
games. I don't.
Are these rules that they
I don't
came
think
up with
so.
during the pandemic, or are these new rules that they decided that they're going to implement forever now?
I think they're for. Well, that's a good question. But why would the pandemic have anything to do with it? If you're going to play 7 innings, you could play 9 innings,
Well,
right?
because they were trying to, the season last year started late because of the the shutdown, and trying to get as many games in as they possibly can. I mean, I think you're just going to have record books that are so filled with asterisks left and right out of the last couple of years.
I mean, so many pitchers in the past have taken no hitters into the 9th inning, and for goodness sake, Tom Seaver, the famous imperfect game where he gave up a base hit with 1 out of the 9th inning to Jimmy Qualls, he had a perfect game going into the 9th. But if we have 7-inning rules, then Tom Seaver should get a perfect game in the record books, right? I mean, it's crazy, but that's something that any of you out there who are sports.
Barry Goldberg said Mets won 4-3, bottom of the 8th.
Yes, they did.
Oh, okay.
They did, and it's so funny because when they won the game, Gary Cohen, who was the Met announcer, said, "And the Mets win it in extra innings in the bottom of the 8th inning." And I said, "What? Hold on, extra innings, the bottom of the 8th? It's crazy. It's crazy what they've done to baseball now." All right, so here we go. This is the category tornadoes, and Mr. Briller now wants to know if you can list or if you can name the 10 states that average the most tornadoes per year, and baseball rules apply. I guess 3 strikes and you're out. So what are the top 10 states that annually see the greatest number of tornadoes?
All right, let's start with I'll start with Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's on the list. It's number 4.
Number 4 is Oklahoma. I'm writing these down.
Oklahoma.
Okay,
yes.
So let's say Kansas.
Kansas, believe it or not, is number 2. Okay. I know that all of you Dorothy Gale and Elvira Gulch fans would have thought it was number 1, but it's not. It's number 2.
All right, so let's go. I'm feeling Nebraska.
Nebraska is there. It's number 5.
Okay. I'm thinking Iowa.
Iowa is there too. It is number 7.
7 for
So now you
Iowa.
got 4 out of 10 so far.
Okay.
Still pitching a perfect game, Joe.
All right. Missouri.
Missouri. Are you on the list? Well, there goes the perfect game.
Really? Missouri's not in
Missouri.
there. Okay.
Missouri. Let me make sure. No, not on the list.
All right. So
Strike one.
my streak ends at 14. All right, so we got
Yes.
Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Iowa. So let's put Texas.
Texas is numero uno.
All right.
And it's numero uno only, of course, as you probably could figure out, simply due to the size of the state, the acreage or the square mile. You know, it's a big state, and so it's probably sees a lot more tornadoes than, let's say, a smaller state like Iowa.
Okay. I'll take a stab here. South Dakota.
Strike 2.
All right. Well, that
I knew that was you knew you were taking a stand. You were taking a shot in the dark. Yeah.
All right. Well. All right. Let's go to Arkansas.
Arkansas. I would have thought our Arkansas would have been on the list too, but it's not.
So that's 3 misses.
That's 3 misses, Joe.
All right. So then, I just off the top. So Mississippi, Alabama, either one of those two.
Yes, they are both at the bottom of the list. Mississippi is number 9, and Alabama is number 10.
Alabama is 10. All right. So which leaves I need 8, 6, and number 3. All right. Well, Illinois.
Illinois is there, right in between Nebraska and Iowa for number 6.
Okay. Well, if Illinois is there, how about Indiana?
Indiana is not there.
Really? Ohio.
Ohio is not there.
Really? So I'm missing number 3 and number 8. So I'm sorry. So you said Mississippi was number 9?
Mississippi was number 9.
And Alabama
was number 10.
Was 10. Okay, I got that. So number 8 and number 3. All right. So Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska. We ruled out Arkansas and Missouri. South Dakota was not on there. You know, I don't know. I mean, if Indiana's not on there and Ohio aren't on there, I know. I don't think
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint for number 8. It's an easy hint. The Mets are playing there on Friday night.
Oh, Colorado?
Colorado.
Really? It's number 8?
Believe it or not. Is number 8.
It's got to be for the eastern part of the state and not the western part, because the western part's 2 mountains. All right.
And for number 3, I'll give you another hint for number 3. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
The 6th borough is in number 3.
Oh, no, I was thinking of Florida.
Yep, and there it is.
Yeah. All right. Well,
you know they call Miami the 6th borough or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. No, all these Colorado, I probably would not have put in there. Florida was in my mind, and I just decided to kind of take that. I'm a little surprised though with Missouri, because they had, the Joplin tornado. What was it? A few years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, was it in Joplin? So I mean that was a big deal. I would have thought that Missouri would have had more activity that would finish in the top 10. I bet you they're probably 11 or 12. Oh well, at least I got 14. I got 14 in a row before I finally got one wrong.
Now the chairman on the chat board says, "Did he say Colorado?" As not with a question mark, but did he say Colorado? Yeah, we did say Colorado. You said it, Scott. That's on your list. So there you go.
Yeah, and it would again. It would probably be the eastern part because that's plains over there,
Yeah.
and west of the Rockies. So I'm sorry,
And Briller
to the
Cooker
west of the Rockies.
and Briller cooking Jeopardy with Renata next Sunday. We hope.
Yes. And the
And the
chairman also
chairman,
hitting super chat. Thank you, Scott. Most appreciated as always. What does Noah know
he asked,
anyway?
no,
Yes.
no, anyway.
Well, all right.
So
So
there you go.
how about we call it a night?
I guess so. I took my Tylenol a little while ago, and
Yes. How are you
hopefully
feeling?
it'll kick in. Well, my left arm and also now my shoulders and around the bottom of my neck feel a little achy. But other than that,
Well, you could
I'm
have
fine.
Mrs.
And I had
Rayo. You could have Mrs. Rayo put her hands around your neck and wring
she
it.
she suggested that she she wanted to do a massage this evening after dinner, but I said no, I'll pass on that.
Christina Pedia, by the way, pointing out, yeah, Joplin. I was trying to remember when it was. It was actually 10 years ago, Joe, 2011. I mean,
Yeah, when you get old, it
everything
seems like a
goes
few years
fast.
ago.
2
Yeah,
years 2 years ago was 10 years ago.
right.
Two is the new 10.
Two is the new 10.
Exactly. All right, folks. All right, so we'll call it a night. Otherwise, we're going to have another one of like last night that went almost an hour and a half. Not that we didn't enjoy it, we
Right,
did. But
right.
before we get on to a tangent, the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. Hold on, let me just fix something here. There you go. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, on Long Island. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. The website, omnitruevalue.com, and they certainly have the best prices in town when it comes to mulch and everything you need to make your yard look absolutely spectacular. We also want to give mention to our occasional other sponsor, which is Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. And their phone number is 631-957-5106. Yeah, it's almost May. And Joe, before you know it, it'll be almost time to start thinking about decorating for the Christmas, Halloween, actually. They'll do Halloween and Christmas. So just to put it out there, if you want your home decorated, or maybe you want to become part of this business, if you're a landscaper, this might be something you'd like to do during the off season. Give them a call, 631-957-5106, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. All right, so back tomorrow night, and hopefully tomorrow night we'll have a good handle, or certainly a better handle on what may or may not happen snow-wise for later Thursday and Thursday night in the interior parts of the Northeast, because I really don't want it to see you wind up getting as much as I'd like to see you get your 1.4. Can you imagine the havoc that will get underway if we do wind up seeing snow down along the coast with this? So
Well, Governor Murphy in New Jersey will declare a state of
he
emergency.
already has. He already has. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for all the super chat hits, by the way, to Pamela Pamela D, I believe. Oh, good. My list is not coming up. Oh, there we go. So the chairman just came up, but everybody else that hit super chat did not come up. Steve Lapointe, I remember you did. So thank you very much for that. And Pamela D, also thank you very much for hitting super chat. And we will see you all tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern time. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night.